watching, or listening
to A to the K.
The A to the K.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.
Welcome once again to another week of the A2theK Wrestling Show. We are episode 2 of season 2. And this week, Carl, we are back with the shows, the segments you know and love. We're going to hit you with the Ringside Report, in which we're going to talk about all the news and rumors that have come up this week in the world of wrestling. We're going to talk This Week in Wrestling, in which we will go through the 4 big shows, being Raw, NXT, AEW's Dynamite, and SmackDown. And then, for a nice, unique segment this week, Carl, what have we got for them?
Well, this week we have, hopefully the first of many in a series, we are calling Our First. And
we're going to talk about Our First.
We are. But not like that. Don't worry. Don't change the channel. This week's segment will be Our First Show. So we will be taking a look back to the very first wrestling show that myself and Anthony watched live and in person, all the way up in Newcastle. I think it was a Raw live over here in the UK.
I believe it was a Raw, yeah.
I believe it was a Raw, so we'll be able to kind of chat through what the match card was all the way back then, and kind of our reactions to, that very first show that we saw live. So nice little interesting segment. We'll have a few other different bits and bobs in future segments under Our First. But kicking it off with Our First Show this week.
Our First Show. So should we kick off, Carl, with the Ringside Report?
Let's do it, man.
Should we kick it off right by getting Carl to read the headlines?
That means you probably put something in there, some kind of tongue twister.
You're damn right I did.
Let's give it a go. Coming up on the Ringside Report. It's like the guy off South Park. Coming up on the Ringside Report. Could the Viking Raiders be making a return soon? Lance Archer hints at a new look and a potential appearance in Impact Wrestling. WWE file another 2 trademarks. They are trademark happy. That's what they are. Has Mickie James quietly retired? Freddie Flintoff invited to NXT UK. Cardi B calls out Vincent Kennedy McMahon. WWE may revert back to Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble.
We'll precursor to that by saying that'll make a bit more sense when we talk about Raw.
Yeah.
No, SmackDown, the other one.
Yeah, fucking SmackDown. They're all the same. Cody has been interviewed and addresses a number of things that he feels AEW need to fix.
Very interesting one.
WrestleMania 24 has been pulled from the WWE Network for reasons
yet unknown.
Former Ring of Honor World Champion Dalton Castle is now a free agent. Where might he end up? Where? And lastly, bit of a somber one, hot off the press, unfortunately. WWE Champion Drew McIntyre has tested positive for COVID-19. What impact might that have on the Royal Rumble? We'll be discussing all that and more coming up right now. So, Anthony, do you want to kick us off with news story number 1?
Okay, so this one kind of spoils a little bit of SmackDown, and I'm sure no one's going to care. So, quite recently on SmackDown, which we will talk about later on in the show, we saw the tag team titles change hands over to Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Mm-hmm. Now, naturally, they went on to social media to celebrate said fact with a nice picture of themselves holding the belts. And who should pop up in the comments? Both Eric and Ivar. Now, not much has been said. It's all very speculative. I believe, off the top of my head, one of them put a set of eyes and the other one put the thinky face. So, suggesting they'll be heading towards the tag scene, the tag title scene, but no definitive timeline or anything set. Now, we know that they were both off, I believe, and again, I annoyingly I don't know which is which, but one was an elective surgery and the other was an injury. But it's looking though we're probably around that time because it's been a little bit of time. I don't know which ones. It just had the baby, Cal. Eric
Sarah Rowe.
It's Eric, isn't it? Eric
yeah.
Rowan. So he probably relished in a bit of time off because of that. So, I mean, it's not to say that they were necessarily continuing their time off due to the injuries, but he did have to have surgery on his arm. Now, again, I believe his was the elective surgery that he'd been putting off for some time. So it's not necessarily something that would be keeping him out of action for a long time, but obviously it is still a surgery. But this was what I want to say. It was before the draft, wasn't it? So
yeah, I think as well in
September, October time ish. So they've been off for a good few months now. So I think we can expect to see them rock up on the tag scene of SmackDown pretty soon, which I'm excited for, to be honest, because it needs something.
Well, yeah. I'm surprised though because I don't recall them being drafted to SmackDown. So I guess with them kind of reacting that way, it looks like they are going to be heading over there.
Probably. Do we even draft, bro?
Do you even draft, bro? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully it's going to be a bit of a breath of fresh air. I hope they've given up on that weird gimmick around, one of them's cute and the other one not so much, or whatever the fuck that was. The only thing that does worry me if they go to SmackDown is I don't want to see them in the Street Profits anymore. Please, God, no. But yeah, it definitely seems like from them tweets that hopefully.
I mean, we'll talk about it a bit more on SmackDown, but I was quite surprised the Profits dropped the titles from a title holder point of view. Like, I will explain why it makes a bit of sense in my head, but like, I was quite surprised they put them in a position to lose the titles, regardless of who you put them against. So that's an interesting one, which we'll talk about some more. But like you say, we don't see another program between them lot, even though they barely wrestled any matches.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But yeah, interesting. Maybe we'll see the Viking Raiders come back.
Favorite Vikings could be returning to TV soon.
Hopefully, as the Viking Raiders and not as the Viking Experience, whoever the fuck that was that happened that one time. But anyway, so the next one, Anthony, the Murder Hawk monster himself, Lance Archer, has been doing the rounds a bit on Twitter and other social channels. So basically, two little snippets of news. So firstly, he's hinted at a new look. So he posted a picture of what appears to be his braid, if you want to call it that, in a big mess on the floor. And now, depending on where you see this picture, on Twitter, you see the caption, "Welp." And on Instagram, you see the caption, "This ain't spaghetti." So I much prefer that one. But it looks as though he's having a bit of a haircut. Somebody got a haircut. That's a little throwback to an older interview we did.
Nice. And yeah, that's interesting. Like, to be honest, even just that it's newsworthy on his social media. Like, come ahead.
Come ahead,
Good for
guys.
you.
So there's that aspect of it. But then he also, he's basically alluding to the fact he may potentially turn up in Impact as well. So he tweeted out, might make a trip to Impact locker room soon, for shits and giggles. And basically off the back of kind of, the Good Brothers and the stuff that's going on there, he's kind of alluded to with another tweet saying, "You won't do that shit to me." So who knows? They seem to have a little bit of a partnership going on at the moment, as we saw on Dynamite, which, spoilers, we do see the Good Brothers show up on Dynamite this week. So, we've had Omega on Impact as well the past few weeks. So, whether they're going to extend that working relationship to other wrestlers, it remains to be seen. But interesting kind of hints there dropped by the Murder Hawk monster himself.
Interesting indeed. Do you think ultimately at some point we're going to see AEW's Impact on a Tuesday night or something like that, Carl?
I hope not.
No, I like the intercompany working. I think owning everything, as we've seen with WWE, doesn't necessarily create the best product.
Yeah,
no, I joke, but no, we can't do that again. So my next one, Carl, and a fairly brief one, but it does answer a question I think that you and I had a little while back. So WWE filed another 2 trademarks.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, and the one that I believe answers a question for you and I, was the trademarked left, right. And you might be thinking, what's that about? This is in reference, or I believe in reference to Up, Down, Down's title. So they obviously play a different game, and the title they win is the left, right belt or whatever. So the fact that they're trademarking elements of that show would suggest and answer the question that you and I had, that is this a Xavier Woods project or is this a WWE project? It seems very much a WWE thing now. Even if it didn't start that way, it seems very much a WWE thing now. So that was interesting enough that I thought, well, let's address that, because we were both curious what the status was, because he was never asked to stop when all this sort of clamped down on certain social medias and certain outside projects, he was never asked, and that kind of makes a bit of sense now because it's their product anyway. The next one was again probably makes a little bit of sense, especially when I talk about NXT. They trademarked the name Katrina Cortez, who makes an appearance in NXT this week. So again, straightforward enough. They've given her a name and they've trademarked said name as well, so she'll never be able to use it anywhere else. Thanks, WWE.
Yeah, I'm surprised they just didn't, buy her name and her soul at the same time.
A part of every contract.
Yeah, interesting one. A little bit of a spin off there for up, down, down, left, right. And yeah, we got a new person. So they love a trademark.
Can't beat a good trademark.
So the next one I've got, Anthony, is a bit of an interesting one, really. Mickie James. So she rocked up this week on Raw as part of Legends Night, which, by all accounts, she is a active member of the roster. So
is she?
Or is she? She was recently listed. Last week we spoke about her with Fox kind of unveiling their tier list, and she was like the lowest tier. She was in whatever she was, which wasn't great. But then to see her show up on Legends Night, I mean, she is a legend, of course. But if she's a member of the active roster, does that count? So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a strange one, to be fair. Do you think?
Well, I've heard, and sorry, apologies because I can't verify it just yet, but I've also heard that they've actually moved her from the active roster to the Legends section of the WWE website, which doesn't sound that significant because that, they moved Drew Gulak to alumni at one point and he never left. But the thing that I think you need to bear in mind with the WWE side is that, I mean, they still have John Cena in their active roster.
True.
So the fact that they've gone to the effort of putting Mickie James into the Legends section kind of suggests that she's not, certainly in their eyes, an active roster member, which is interesting.
I mean, it's going to be a shame if that is the case because, she did come back on Raw not too long ago and she was putting on some, she was quite actively featured, if you will. But then it kind of all went a little bit wrong, didn't it? We had a couple of botched finishes, we had a couple of injuries.
Well, to be honest, I decided, because she was quite open about her frustration with that as well, I decided that was like a work of some sort and then it never went anywhere. So I guess it wasn't. I guess she was just pissed off.
There was that bit as well, wasn't there, where she was in a match with Natty, and I don't know whether it was a tag match or whatever, and they spent most of the time with an angle over at the commentary table while that match was going on in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just did not give two fucks about the match.
Disrespectful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's going to be a shame if she is now retired or whatever, because it would have been nice to see her have a retirement match. She is a legend. Always been one of my favorite women's wrestlers as well. So yeah, if it is the case, then it's a bit of a shame, really.
Certainly is. So the next one I've got, Carl, and I might need to lean on your knowledge here a little bit. Andrew Flintoff, who is a sports guy, did the sports. He did the cricket sports, yeah, because I'm proper knowledged up on all that stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
He found himself watching NXT UK earlier this week, and felt the need to put a tweet out there saying that he was watching NXT UK on BT Sports. And tagged one of his friends in, a Tom Davis, who is apparently a comedian. Apologies, another name I didn't recognize, but there you go. And he said that he's watching NXT UK on BT Sports. Reckon me and you, Big Tom, could sort these lads out. And this tweet was noticed by NXT UK's official Twitter page, who offered them an open invite to come on down. They took it in good humor, suggesting that they need to go and get some tights, but all just a little bit of banter. But it makes you wonder: are we going to see? Because it's certainly be a draw for the UK crowd. As much as I'm useless with sports, Carl, you know who this guy is, right?
Yeah, he seems he's kind of branched out to be on a few kind of sports related things. Like he's a host on that League of Their Own. He does a lot of stuff with Jamie Redknapp and James Corden and stuff like that on the sides as well. So yeah, by all accounts, he was a bit of a drunk and a bit of an asshole, and that's how he kind of became like the bad boy of cricket or whatever almost. So that's how he kind of rose to fame, if you will, while playing cricket. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it would definitely do the audience of NXT UK some good, because I don't think it's one of the most watched kind of shows.
Well, sadly, and I should take a bit more
Unfortunately,
pride in, UK pride and all that, but like,
Mm.
I don't watch it. I don't tune into NXT UK. I watch NXT, don't watch NXT UK, and that might be due to the sheer amount of hours of wrestling I watch per week. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gotta lend, some of the reason towards it, hasn't it? But I don't know. I think it'd be funny to see it happen if he does end up making an appearance on there. We've seen a couple of we saw Wayne Rooney at one point was in a little bit of an angle with the main WWE. So
Oh, really?
yeah, let's see if let's see if we get Freddie Flintoff on NXT UK.
Yeah. I say I don't want to confuse anyone listening, Carl. I called him Andrew as per the article. I assume Freddie. That's how he's known.
Yeah, it's like a nickname, I think. But yeah, Freddie
Proper
Flintoff.
good with sports, me guys. Proper good with
Drinky
sports.
Drinkerson is the other one you can call
Sounds-
him. I think he does adverts for Giacomo as well, so you can see him anywhere. Yeah, interesting one there.
Indeed.
Maybe slightly higher on the celebrity spectrum. So Cardi B has called out Vince McMahon. This was after she got a bit of a mention on WWE RAW. So it was Legends Night, and there was a segment with Angel Garza, going around with his little rose like he does, and
Naturally, yeah, he was in his element, wasn't he?
well, yeah. But Tori Wilson was backstage as part of Legends Night with Nikki Cross, and he basically goes to give her the rose or whatever like that, and she basically says, "Oh, don't waste your rose on me. There's a few other people that have been invited. We've got Beyonce and someone else, and Cardi. I think it was Ariana Grande and Cardi B. Are just chilling in this room around the corner, and he's like, oh, and it goes round, and it's basically the boogeyman, and then that goes on to him losing the 24/7 title that he apparently had. So yeah, apparently so. Yeah, and obviously it was R-Truth who won it back, of course.
Well, we just assume he's got it anyway. No one really gives a fuck.
Yeah, I think I got it wrong as well. It was Cardi B, Kylie Jenner, and Ariana Grande. Sorry, it wasn't Beyonce. But yeah, so basically there were some people around, and yeah, so they mentioned her name, and then loads of people were kind of tweeting at Cardi B then. And so she kind of put a tweet out that was like, wait, what's going on? People keep tagging me in WWE stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? This is not how my WWE debut is supposed to be. Vince McMahon, count your fucking days.
Nice.
So she's then gone on to say that, that she was actually quite a big fan and stuff like that. And she started interacting quite a bit with the wrestling fan base and stuff like that.
I think she even referenced the fact that like her legends were the likes of Trish Stratus and the like. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Carl.
Yeah, it was. I think there was quite a few names, to be fair. I think a few of them, I think she referenced like the likes of Melina and stuff like that as well.
She did very specifically mention Melina because I remember that being reacted to quite heavily because obviously
Yeah.
were quite big in, I want to say NWA, but she may have moved during the COVID time, so apologies for that. Yeah,
defo. And she also called out and praised Sasha Banks as well, which I thought was a pretty interesting one too. So yeah, Cardi B. We've had.
What else did she do, Carl?
I don't know, Anthony. You tell me.
Well, she got a response from the one and only Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans responded to her and offered her out because naturally it's what Lacey Evans does, and was met with a very aggressive response.
Just a bit, which has since been deleted as well, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been deleted. It still gets talked about a fair bit, but it's been deleted. I don't know whether, Lacey might have been going for a bit of a work and a bit of banter, and Cardi took it seriously, or whether it's all part of the mix. You never know with these things. But certainly, I don't. It seems like she'd be quite keen to rock up on WWE in some capacity at some point.
Well, money talks, so I'm sure WWE would love to capitalize.
I mean, Shane O'Mac will attest to that. So, Carl, my next one is sadly it's come from the big book of melts. So make of that what you will.
What a melt!
And this has absolutely no base in it, to be honest. But I want to talk about it for a second.
How unlike him?
Because it's not even like, oh, I've heard from the grapevine. This is like it seems such an odd decision that surely they're gonna. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we probably all could have done that, Dave. But basically, he's referring to the decision, and again, we'll talk about it when we get to SmackDown. The decision of Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns at the Rumble, which, as far as the main title scene goes, the Royal Rumble's pretty fucked, right? So it does feel a bit bad. Now, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know how to feel right now because he's suggesting that at some point between now and the Rumble, it seems likely they're going to go back to the Kevin Owens Roman angle. Adam Pearce seems like such an out of nowhere decision that it feels like it's not the final decision. Which, okay, I can get on board what he's saying, just as much as there's no real rumors or suggestions he's hearing. But at the same time, like, do we want Kevin Owens again? No offense, but they've had 3 matches now, and they were all bangers. But how many times can you have these two fight? Like, I say this all the time, Vince, but when we say fight forever, we don't actually mean fight forever. So I don't even know if I would feel about that. There's at least we know Adam Pearce is a wrestler. We know he can go in the ring. This isn't like getting some sort of Vince McMahon in a match kind of booking, although he is some sort of authority figure. He spent, I want to say, 18 years on the Indies. He's well known. They've even alluded to that, which kind of makes sense now, actually, because last week they were suggesting, like, how long have you known me, Kevin, and stuff like that. So that it all kind of makes a bit of sense that they were going to put him in some sort of angle. But is this him moving to some bit of an in-ring resurgence with WWE?
Oh God, I don't know. I hope not. And that's no offense to Adam Pearce. I just think, it's
an odd choice to put him right up against Roman at this point, because how can you have him? He's not going to win. That would be so unrealistic and so detrimental to Roman's run at the minute.
Well, that's it. I think
he's not going to win. But
it's one of them. What's the lesser of all evils at this point? If you look at the options on the table, you've got Kevin Owens again, which, as you've said, all the matches have been absolute bangers, but we've seen it quite a lot and quite recently. We've got the whole Shinsuke thing. Like, Shinsuke probably shouldn't have lost. He was kind of coming back a little bit.
Have, but I don't know if I want that match.
Do we want to see that? Do we want to see Shinsuke back as a face again? And then
do we want to see Shinsuke Roman? I don't think that'd be a good match.
Yeah, it's interesting stylistically whether or not it would be good. I don't really know. But yeah. Strange
indeed. So we might get another Kevin Owens match, basically, is the rumor.
The rumor from Meltz, who just doesn't know himself, which is cool.
Yeah.
So the next one, Mr. Cody Rhodes, because we can use his full name now, has been given an interview with Chris Jericho on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Maybe check that out, guys, as well. I know it's not as big as ours and doesn't have as many followers and likes and plays and whatever, but you got to support the other guys. Well, it's one of them. He just had Thunder Rosa on, I think, recently, and obviously it's imitation's the best form of flattery, I say. So
I agree.
Hope Jericho, keep it up, man. It's I'm sure it's going good. But yeah, he had Cody Rhodes on, and basically was talking about AEW, and Cody graded AEW as an A for its first year. But he did say that he knows there's a few places where the roster needs a little bit of work. But a point he kind of raised was maybe the talent has actually got a little bit too much freedom now.
Yeah,
it's an interesting point because it kind of gets lauded by the performers and a lot of other people that it's great that AEW has so much freedom and the talent can come up with all their own storylines and that kind of thing. But does it get to a point where maybe it is a little bit too much? And he was quoted as saying that sometimes that can make it too similar on the show, and that's something Jericho made a reference to as well. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, where he said there was just like the same segment one after another about someone potentially leaving in a circle or leaving Team Taz or something like that, and it was kind of like, or joining, and it was kind of like, well, how can you book them two segments one after another, because you just can't do that kind of thing. So yeah, Cody's kind of also aware of that, and he said that it's one of those where you've got this guy's asking me to join Team FTW, and this group they're asking if I'll join this. So it's one of those areas where the freedom is fun. They're not worried about the kind of traditional rules, but it's punk rock. You have to be disciplined so that it doesn't kind of desensitize the show. So bit of roundabout way of saying that, they got a bit too much freedom, and you probably need to kind of have, not like a tyranny of Vince McMahon, but maybe have something a bit more.
No, you've got to find that balance. I think it's at least they're willing to acknowledge this, because there's a lot of stuff that didn't work. As much as we praise AEW constantly, there's a lot of stuff that didn't work, and they're very quick to course correct as well and go, this isn't working. But they wouldn't have to put these trial and error things out there, I suppose, if there was like a bit more control. But I don't know, how much control do you end up with? Like, at what point are you hampering the stars from being creative.
Yeah.
The slippery slope, Cody. This is how Vince started. Well, not really. Or did he? Interacting with other territories.
God.
Yeah, it's yeah, interesting to say the least. Interesting, and let's see what happens for their next year or so, or whatever he's going to implement these changes. Speaking of changes, Carl, those who are fans of the WWE Network may have noticed. You know, when you think, you know what I've not watched in a while, WrestleMania 24. I'm going to watch WrestleMania 24. And you go to the WWE Network, all excited, you get your remote, and you're like, and it's not there. Gutting, right? So a lot of people have found this out quite recently, that they wanted to go and watch Shawn Michaels kick Ric Flair in the face once again, out of love, obviously. And they couldn't. Now, there's been no reason officially given as to why it's no longer on WWE Network. And you might recall, Carl, and I forget the pay-per-view, apologies, but you might recall I mentioned this a few weeks back as well, over a different pay-per-view being absent for a while and returning to the network. And it's believed now that these ones that are disappearing briefly and coming back, because I've no doubt WrestleMania 24 being as big as it was, will come back. The suggestion is that it's due to this whole music rights stuff that they're having at the minute. A lot of people are changing the themes, a lot of stuff's changing music wise, and they might have had to make some edits to some of the music elements in certain older pay-per-views, which is crazy because you think historically you'd want to have it as pure as it was. But that is that.
But then also, why WrestleMania 24? Why not all of them? Do you know what I mean? Like, what was so special about WrestleMania 24? Surely there wasn't just one song.
I mean, they might be going in some sort of order of popularity. So they're like, well, the ones that get and watch more frequently will deal with first, or whichever, or they wants to make it, you know, they're like, Sean's not really a sexy boy now. I'm gonna have to edit that out. Sorry, Sean, that was mean. Who am I to talk? But yeah, I honestly don't know if it is true why they're picking random. And it is random. It's not like they've been working through the WrestleManias and they're moving on to something else. It's just random ones they're picking from what we can see. I can't see a pattern to it.
CFOs did the music for Floyd Mayweather. he's the only person who was in there who probably would only be in that one. So yeah.
I'm just like, whoever you need to pay, Vince, just pay them. This is surely harder work.
Yeah. Pay the
guys
guys
for God's sake. So that's my one, Carl.
Okay. And then I think Okay. Well, speaking of things going, former Ring of Honor World Champion Dalton Castle is now a free agent. He's gone from Ring of Honor. So
I knew it.
You knew it. So yeah, he's been signed at Ring of Honor since 2013. So quite a long ass time.
I know they've had him for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually he won the World Championship in 2017 from Cody Rhodes when he was at Ring of Honor. So, I think a lot of people are potentially speculating, does that mean he's going to end up in AEW? Like, what does it all mean? But from what people understand who are close to him is that they have offered him a new deal and he's happy with that deal, but he's just kind of considering that offer and also trying to just see what the free agency is like, if you will. So will he get an offer from AEW? Will he get an offer from NXT? Is it going to be as good, if not better, than Ring of Honor and what they're offering? So interesting one. I've not seen anything around him potentially going to one of them companies, to be fair, but I think...
that's the first in the line of the speculation, isn't it? Like, it's going to be one of the two big guys.
Well, exactly. So, yeah, interesting. He's obviously been with them for quite a while. He's one of their kind of more well-known and bigger stars, and so it's interesting that they've offered him a deal on the table, and he's just kind of like weighing it up, So who knows? Maybe he does have his mindset elsewhere.
So the last one, Carl, it's a bit of a bum note to go out on, but it's the breaking news that came in last because we only just found out about it, and that is the fact that sadly WWE champion Drew McIntyre has been tested positive for COVID-19. This has been confirmed by WWE. They've confirmed that he will currently be in isolation, not be able to attend this week's Raw. I believe he was due to have a match with, I want to say Sheamus, maybe Keith Lee. He's due to have a match with someone. Now he's not going to have a match with someone. But the hope is still there, and certainly timeline-wise for how long you have to isolate it, he should still be able to make the Rumble. But sadly, hopefully he recovers pretty quickly. But yeah, he's going to be in isolation for the foreseeable. And again, hopefully we'll still get the Rumble match that everybody wants between him and Goldberg. Or we'll get exactly what happened at WrestleMania, and Braun Strowman will rock up and step in. Because why the fuck not?
Yeah, because that would make perfect sense again, wouldn't it? Yeah, it sucks, man. Obviously, I've been quite outspoken about Drew. I think he's phenomenal. I definitely think he is one of the better WWE champions we've had in a long, long time. Like, he looks legit and, he acts legit and so on and so forth, but he hasn't had the best run of late with the kind of weird stuff they've mixed him up in, which has been quite a shame. But yeah, obviously, we'll get on to Raw, because fuck me, what a shit show that was. But it's a shame that kind of the last thing we're going to see of Drew McIntyre, at least for a week or two, is him getting knocked on his ass by Goldberg as we kind of fade to black. And yeah, weird
editing that, like, because by all accounts there was another bit to that where he got back up and then butted him, but they didn't air that bit.
I think because it was live, they just ran out of time from the network. Just him off.
Accidentally and making Drew look like a bitch.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so I think on like on the reruns and the replays and stuff, they kind of did that. But yeah, the whole thing was a clusterfuck. But yeah, I think obviously more importantly than anything else, hopefully he's fine. He makes it through all this okay and stuff like that, because
totally agree.
It doesn't fuck around, does it? So let's hope he's on the mend, and we get to see him at the Rumble, even if it is against Goldberg.
Indeed. So fingers crossed, and we wish him all the best. But we'll see him at the Rumble. We'll see him at the Rumble, Carl.
I hope so. So Anthony, that was
the
Ringside
Report. It certainly
Report.
was. It was the Ringside Report.
It was, and we will be back after a word from these guys.
Monopoly Events presents For the Love of Wrestling, Europe's largest wrestling convention, back in Liverpool, the Exhibition Centre, between the 15th and 16th of May. Guests this year include Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, the Icon, the Showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania Shawn Michaels, 3-time WWE champion, 3-time TNA champion. Things are about to get extreme with Jeff Hardy, 7 times women's champion, Diva of the Decade and Hall of Fame star Trish Stratus, Grand Slam winner and the wrestling god John Bradshaw Layfield. These and many, many more will be joining us in Liverpool. Find us on Facebook at For the Love of Wrestling. Visit our website, fortheloveofwrestling.co.uk. For tickets for entry and guests, visit ticketquarter.co.uk. That's ticketquarter.co.uk. For the Love of Wrestling, by the fans, for the fans.